Have you ever been at work and just had the thought, there must be more to life than this? It's not that your work is bad. Mine wasn't. I thought I'd built the company of my dreams, but I just couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Inside, I knew something wasn't right, but I just didn't know how to fix it. And what actually solved it was the complete opposite to what I would have ever thought. I made one simple internal shift that had me go from being an unhappy entrepreneur to being inspired, motivated, and truly aligned with the work that I do. And I get it, it's frustrating. You put in all of the hard work. You dedicated yourself to building a career. You made all the right choices, only to find in 5, 10, 15 years that you're kind of waking up and feeling like you're going through the motions, probably putting on a brave face to your family, your friends, and your employees. When we find ourselves in this place, it's kind of discouraging because we start to feel like we can't even trust our own decisions. But when you understand what's underneath this, all of the mess, like I did, it becomes much easier to untangle it all so that you can live a powerful and authentic life. Most people never untangle this mess, and they find themselves in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, miserable. And you probably know some of these people. And the truth is, the consequences go far beyond your own personal happiness. It ripples out into your friends, your family, your community, and all those you serve. People make the mistake, which is easy to do, to think that following your purpose is something that's selfish. But in fact, it's the exact opposite. Staying stuck in a career that you dislike, or worse, hate, is out of integrity with your own soul. It's out of integrity with the business and the people you're serving. More importantly, think about this. If you've been doing pretty well at a career that you're not all in on, imagine how successful you're going to be when you're actually doing something that's important to you. Something that you care about, something that you're committed to, and something that you're proud of. And then imagine the lives you're going to impact from that place. That's the opportunity here. So listen, I'm just going to show you what I did. It worked for me, it works for my clients, and you know what? I really hope it works for you too. So by age 25, I was a burnt out entrepreneur. I was a former champion bodybuilder, and I went and built this fitness empire in the UK. We were the largest distributor of supplements. I ran my own fitness competition. We were published in magazines. I had the penthouse apartment that I'd always dreamed of, and yet I was miserable. I wasn't really passionate about the business, and this ultimately ended up affecting all the different areas of my life. I love this line from Henry David Thoreau. He said that the mass of men live a life of quiet desperation. And the truth is, that was me. And he was right. Most people do feel like something important in their life is missing. And well, where is this coming from? Most of us are trying to do the right thing. We're trying to make the right choices. We're trying to do what's right. We're trying to do what's good. But where does this come from? And we've got to rewind it all back to begin to understand that as children, we're working so hard to make those around us happy, to please our teachers, to get the right grades. And by the time we're adults, we've processed this and conditioned this so much that we lose the core, the essence, the heart, the soul of who we really are. So it's important to reflect, doing the right thing. But doing the right thing by who is the question. So the first shift that I made is so simple, yet so profound. And I invite you to make this same shift. It's that I stopped asking, what's the right thing to do? And I started asking, what's the right thing to do for me? So this seems so simple, but the big question is, how do you know? Well, the truth is that we all have an internal compass. We all have an internal sense of what feels aligned, what feels true and real for ourselves, and what doesn't. And the problem and challenge that we face is that we've been conditioned out of what feels true and real and good here, and conditioned into doing things to please and, get love and approval from others. And that's the pattern that we have to break. So for example, when I was 14, I loved gaming, specifically the game Halo 2. And I loved it. I played it all the time. And I got so good and passionate about it that our team became one of the best in the world. We got sponsored by a company called Liquid Lightning, and we got flew to the States. It was amazing. And we built a business around it, and we started coaching other kids how to improve. Now, this just naturally emerged because it's what I loved. So all of this just started to happen because I was deeply aligned and deeply passionate about what I was doing. So at this point, my very well-intentioned parents were advising me that this wasn't going to be a career track. So I came to a kind of fork in the road moment and had to make a choice. I could either follow what felt right for me, even though everyone else disapproved, or I could ignore my own instincts and I could go with what everyone else said is going to be the right thing to do. So at 14, 15, I hadn't yet learned the skills to be able to really make a case for this. But guess what? 2 years later, 2 of my teammates went on to be two of the first 7-figure gamers. And what's really important here is that we all have unique views and perspectives. And at that time, my parents couldn't see the world that I was in. Their well-meaning advice couldn't hold and see everything that I could. So there's going to be things right now in your life, industries, ways of seeing things that are unique to you that maybe no one around you is going to see the same way. It's one of the reasons why deferring our choice to others makes no sense, because others can't see and know what we know. And more importantly, they don't have to live your life. You are the one that has to live your life. You are the one that has to live with the decisions that you do or don't make. You're the one who has to go to that job. You're the one who has to wake up each day. You're the one who has to come home to your spouse, potentially children and friends and community. And if you let other people determine those choices that you're making, you're going to end up living a life that isn't true and real for you. Which comes back to this question again. Instead of asking what's the right thing to do, it's what's right to do for me. How can you start building your life from that space? That's the first piece. So it took me nearly 10 years to come back to this question. So I'd built the business. We had a team, 200,000 members. Everything was going like super well. But inside, I wasn't feeling lit up by this. I knew it wasn't my calling. I knew there was something deeper for me. And despite what everyone else was saying that I should do, that I should stay, get the valuation, the 7-figure valuation that we'd had for the company and like keep building it. But inside, I knew that wasn't the right thing for me to do. And when I asked myself the question, what was the right thing? What was the aligned thing to do for me? I knew the answer. So I closed the company and I started building the life that I was actually passionate about creating. And 10 years later, that's the life that I'm living today. And I'm deeply fulfilled what I do. I love the people that I hang around with. And, being of service in the way that I am lights me up every day. I love working with my clients. I love the space of transformation. I'm as crazy as this as I was about Halo 2 when I was 14. And that was a decision that at the time didn't make sense to anyone around me. They didn't understand why I was walking away from a 7-figure company. But I had to trust my own inner guidance. I had to trust that I could rebuild something and that I knew what was going to be right for me. And that choice, that confidence has just built itself over and over and over and over again. And as we do this, I started to build more trust. As you do this, you start to build more trust, and it creates this upward, virtuous cycle where our life goes from living out of alignment to living in alignment when we start making that choice. What is the right thing to do for me? What is aligned? Most people are stuck in an unconscious loop of what is going to make other people happy, what is going to please mom and dad, what is going to please my friends, so on and so forth. The loop goes round and round and round and round. Now, the way out of that loop is the question, what is the right thing to do for me? That question opens a doorway upon which gives us the opportunity to walk through it, to create a new path, a path that is aligned and true and real for us. To find the thing that we have always felt is missing. That is our job, and that is our responsibility. So if the question opens the door, we still need the courage and some skills in order to actually walk through it. So for me, I learned that I'd unconsciously built a whole life on other people's approval and opinions. And I had to learn how to internalize and give all of the things that I was needing from other people to myself, so that I had the strength and courage to do what I knew I needed to do, regardless of what other people were saying. And by the way, I worked with really good, experienced practitioners and coaches who guided me through this process I was in. I saw from my childhood patterns, from my dad leaving when I was 6 months old to having a stepfather that nobody would want, that I'd internalized from that I wasn't loved. And then from that internalization, which by the way, I couldn't see, but it was having me show up in my life in a way to try and prove that I was worthy of love. I learned from my first life coach how to begin shifting these unconscious patterns, how to regulate my nervous system, how to really move on from this experience into a life that was true, real, and authentic for me. So this process set me free, and it allowed me to really ask the questions like, what lights me up? What do I truly care about? What is the change that I want to see in the world? And instead of those just being like hypothetical questions that I asked myself, I actually had the internal security, love, and respect to actually act on it, regardless of what other people were saying. This is a powerful and deep journey to ultimate freedom. But all it takes to start is that simple question. What is the right thing to do for me? That question leads us to our truth, leads us to our authenticity. And that question asked and answered and committed to courageously over and over and over and over again is the question that will lead you to your truth.